Things are actually starting to move along. Well, now I'm blinded. Found some more tools. Maybe I should focus on cleaning some of this stuff up. To grab that random piece of wood that's just sitting in there rotting. I'm over in Canada, so I usually go by milliliters. It's not the easiest thing to do. Hello, everyone. I just wanted to welcome and say hello to all of the new subscribers on the channel. I'm going to give a little intro to this video on what's happening. So I'm Brandon. I'm located in Windsor, Ontario. And for all my American friends, I'm pretty much Detroit, Michigan. So I'm in the Great Lakes, fresh water. The reason I'm doing this intro is to pretty much answer a lot of questions we've got. So a lot of things like, one, I don't deal with salt water. Everything that I do is fresh water only. So we have had a lot of comments like, wow, that would absolutely destroy that, or things like that. You are correct. The little bit I do know about salt water is obviously it's highly corrosive. Here in the Great Lakes, we don't deal with any of that, which I am so thankful for. It's some very amazing boating. For sure not Bahama water with that crystal clear. We do have areas like that, but it is very nice not having to deal with my stainless rusting or any of that. We are all fresh water, and none of those things rust that some of you guys in the saltwater experience. When it comes to maintenance, maintenance is so much easier for us. I wanted to explain a couple things, and I'm standing in what we call the farm. This is a new location for me and for you guys seeing as well. As you can tell, it is currently being worked on, and I have a lot of junk stored in here. Still no concrete floors, nothing. It's essentially going to be a big heated storage area for me. It will have concrete floors. It's going to be heated and cooled all year round for storage and stuff like that. You guys are going to be seeing a lot of this property because I'm actually building a new building for me to work out of here. So I'm going to be building a 120 by 60 foot building on this property. Like you just seen when I panned around, here are the engines that came out of the Viking. So they are the 1200 horsepower MAN diesels. This one is the one that decided to have a wrist pin failure and put a connecting rod through the block. So that is what started this project. The reason I bought the boat with that blown motor and my decision to repower. A lot of people ask in the comments, is this stuff for sale? Yes. The reason I actually never talked about it was for a couple different things. Crazy enough, I was actually looking at a 72 foot Ferretti that was for sale local to me. Some people in the Michigan area probably know exactly what boat. And it needed 2 transmissions, an engine, and everything that was sitting right here. Long story short, I wasn't able to make a deal on the boat, and now it is time for this stuff to go. I actually have already sold one of the transmissions that came out of the Viking, and I will have a perfectly good running engine for sale, a parts engine that for the most part everything is good externally, but none of the internals. I actually brought a light. I'll see if I can show you. We got a nice window. What you are looking at is inside of the engine. Not the easiest thing to get to. Hopefully you guys were able to see that. So yeah, that engine completely windowed the block. With that being said though, a lot of parts are still very good on this engine. So if anybody is interested, that stuff will be for sale. I do have one transmission left that's over in that corner. A couple random transmissions that are off some 6V92s. And this is normally my tender. Everybody loves the Boston Whalers. I do agree myself. I've always wanted one. This thing is just a little faster. Being a 13 foot boat with a Yamaha 90 that I actually fully rebuilt a couple years back now. It's just a pretty simple little thing, but it makes for a pretty cool tender. 2 seats, simple flooring, very lightweight, easy to put on a platform, on the bow, anything like that. With not trying to make this intro too long, I just wanted to explain a couple of those things for everyone that was always asking. So, Brandon from the future here, we are now going to go back to the past and get right into some fiberglass. I will catch you there. Alrighty guys, so I got some help here today. Little Mikey's here, making all kinds of noise. So we got everything almost prepped on this side. Doing the last little bit of prep on this side with the little 1 1/8 grinder, little belt sander. That thing works awesome for doing this. But we have all of our fiberglass cut and ready to go over there. We're gonna do get the mask on, get the safety gear, and start glassing us. Time to finally get this all glassed in here. You guys kind of know the process at this point. Get the area nice and wet out. So we have all our pieces cut and ready to go. You want to make sure you have them sitting out as you need it. You grab it and go. So just like that, and then you just get it nice and wet out. All right guys. So finally, it's been a little bit here, but we've been kicking butt getting things done. That stringer that we started with, I'll show you how it turned out. It's looking good. Look at that bad boy. It's got a quick scuff on it, because we just added another layer of glass in here. Actually, 3 layers in there to even everything off and close it out. And then also 3 layers in here, all tabbed into the bulkhead, tabbed to each stringer. And then we just finished tabbing in this entire stringer. From right here, it's all redone. New coring, cut it all out just like we did every single other one. So, as you can see, it used to look like this. It used to have a hole here, which you can actually see where it was filled in still. It is filled in with glass inside of there. I'm trying to remember here, almost forgetting. 4 layers of 1708 on each side, and then on the top as well. And then you can kind of see where the top has been slowly overlapping. And then again, tabbed into the bulkhead, tabbed into the floor, and all the pieces are joined together. So things are actually starting to move along. So this entire side, everything, all the stringers, bulkheads, everything on the port side of a 58-foot Viking is now made out of Kusa, and all new fiberglass, well, new-ish, if you guys get what I mean. Redone. Well, the only thing actually left we have is this stringer and that stringer. That one's already been redone. We got 2 more to go. I'm gonna cut it in. You can see how crazy beat up this was from ripping out the old bulkhead. I don't know what my plan is for this side, because everything in the moisture meter reads like perfect on this side, especially here. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. Should I just say screw it and redo it with Kusa, so every single thing in this engine room is made out of Kusa? Or should I try and say, I'll save some work and leave these 2? Just saying that actually doesn't even sound right. Sounds like I should just do it out of Kusa. You guys remember the fish tank? And here's something else that I got done as well. We got the weep holes, all fiberglassed in. This is a hole that still has to get cut out. That's for engine wiring and hoses and stuff like that. And here's the actual fish tank side, which is the starboard side. Notched it out really good so I can slather a lot of thickened in there, and it worked. Then I got this one that's gonna go in soon, which is just way overkill, but 2-inch fiberglass tube that I made when I had my C-Ray for rerouting my generator exhaust. So I've just been using that because it's very nice, decently thick, 1/4 inch thick fiberglass tubing. That's gonna be extremely strong. So, all right guys. Figured I'd take a quick moment to show you the progress. and show you some of the tools that I use and do a quick little video of the process that I go through to try to make it look good. I am trying to go for a very nice finish in this engine room. I'm sure you guys have already noticed this, but I'm going for a nice sanded, smooth, shiny engine room. I want people to walk down into my engine room, man cave, and be like, wow, this looks amazing. Trying to make it where you come down into here and you want to wear your white socks. That's the stringer that I showed you, the process. It's all done. I now have 2 layers of glass in this back area. A small little area that's cored with Kusa from where the old bulkhead ran. Just because it was about a 1/4 inch deep. So I figured I'd just core it with some Kusa. And all I did was mix up thickened, stick it in there, and then just take a wood planer and plane it smooth until I could gloss over it. So that's what I did there. So now you can see you get left with a lot of areas like this. If you've done fiberglass work, or if you haven't and you're kind of using some of my videos to learn from, corners suck. So it's hard to not end up with little corners like that. That's where this belt sander comes in. But this guy is all done. This one, I ended up recoring the entire thing. I used the old skin right here where it stopped because it was very nice, almost 1/4 inch thick glass. I'm not an expert at this, but I figured if I can bond the old skin to it well, it's gonna have way more strength than me just adding new. So instead of me just adding my 4 or 5 layers of glass over top, it actually has the old core glued to it and then the new glass over top of it. So that's why you can kind of see the color difference. This is where behind it is just the Kusa and all new glass. So right here, from the bulkhead to here, there's actually, I think, 10 layers of glass that build it up to the thickness of the old stuff. And then 4 layers, 4, technically 5 because of tabbing, going over the old skin of the glass. So that's how things are looking. In this corner here, very tricky corner. You can actually see I'm grinding out the air pockets. What I end up doing is I just sand it all down and get back to the good solid glass with no air bubbles. And then instead of adding strips this way, which is what I was doing, I will add a couple layers this way to fill in those voids. I'll set up the camera quickly and I'll show you how great this cheap little belt sander is. I know I have my Not DeWalt sponsor, and this thing is actually borrowed from a friend and probably one of the best tools to use for fiberglassing. Besides for the wood planer, if you guys are out there and you're watching this to learn some things about fiberglassing, there's a thing called a gel coat peeler, which I've never used. I've seen videos of it, I've looked them up online, looked at the price, went, yep, I'm not buying that. But I was like, that sure looks like a wood planer. And let me tell you, if you need to get off gel coat, just go buy a wood planer, because I was able to clear all that gel coat off in probably 30 seconds. One of the times where I need to get off a whole bunch of gel coat, I'll take a video, because I don't know why people don't talk about that or just use a wood planer. Sure, it might destroy the blades, but for the price, like, it's been working fantastic for everywhere that I've had to peel off gel coat. And what's so nice about it, no dust. Basically, because it's more of chips, you hook the vacuum to it and it's amazing. But anyways, let me show you what we do with this guy. And like little areas like that. hopefully you guys were able to see some of that. So it gives it a very nice finish, and it gets so much material off. Like you can see, and I'm using 2 vacuums, you can see the amount of material that it's able to take off, all those rough edges. And when you run your hand down it, it feels almost perfect. And just because it's a small little 1 1/4 or 1 1/8 belt sander, you have a lot of control with it. And then I use one of these guys. Actually, a couple of them, different sizes, different thicknesses. I have quite a few of them on the go here. So we got these 2. Normally I use a Dremel, but unfortunately I forgot it at the shop. But find one of the sanding wheels that matches the corner, and it works very nice. Yes, I'm always wearing a mask, but so you guys can hear me, I got the vacuums going, so I don't want to hear it. A nice rounded corner without obviously taking off too much material, because that's the balance you kind of have to do. What I do plan on doing, because I'm trying to have a shiny area, is all of the areas you'll never see again that are totally getting covered, I'm just going to pretty much leave at a finish like that. Clean it up, make it look good, good enough. But for areas like right here, that will be a focal point inside of the engine room, because you're going to walk down and you're going to see a lot of this fiberglass work. So areas like these corners, which I haven't finished up this one, I am actually going to fair it out with some fairing compound or something like that, and try to get almost a perfect finish. At least this is what I'm doing. Not an expert at this, but I'm learning. And I love hearing from you guys in the comments on what you think I can improve on, or if I'm doing things right, or if you're like, Brandon, you're an idiot, you should do it this way, because no professional at this stuff. I'm just a guy out here trying to fix things and make it look good, and until it is. And because I'm not a professional, I'm always trying to do it a little stronger, or what I think is even better than what it was. Alright, so it's the next day. I got pretty much all of the sanding done. There's actually some spots that I gotta touch up. And we got things like this. A couple air pockets where 2 pieces overlapped. And same with this corner. I'm gonna continue, I'm gonna grind out the air pockets and add some more glass there. But I'm over working in the corner here, getting ready to put the generator bedding in. And let me turn some light on here so you guys can see. Woo. Well, now I'm blinded. Found some more tools. Do you guys think it's a 10 mil? I think it might be a 10 mil. But there is a V-band clamp on the exhaust. And those are always 11 mil. So I have a feeling it might be one. Let's find out together. And guys, I don't exactly reach in here or fit. So I'll dig it out through one of these. What are you guys thinking? Ooh, a ratcheting wrench. And it's a, oh, if you guys can see that, it's a 3/8. I have a good feeling it doesn't ratchet anymore. Definitely does not ratchet anymore. And it's just a gear wrench. One more tool being found in the bilge. And random things like this. Mainly why I was coming in here was to just grab this, to grab that random piece of wood that's just sitting in there rotting. There's the exhaust that I got out. It's kind of all plugged up with some foam to keep the cold air out, because it is just a 12-inch hole straight out the back of the boat, so funnels a lot of cold air in. Thought you guys might find that interesting. I was really hoping for at least a 10 mil working wrench, but here we are, an extra 3/8 that doesn't ratchet. And this is all the junk and sanding dust that's in here being cleaned out. And a couple of things in here to remove some of the old shift cables. A lot of things. As every system got upgraded on this boat, it seems like for every wire, every system, it was like, oh, just leave that in there, add the new one. So all the cable trays, everything was packed. So that's what I'm trying to do, is just eliminate all of the things that are in all these cable trays that just don't need to be there no more. Get rid of the 30 years of old boat for all new boat stuff and just save a couple pounds. All right, I figured you guys would find that interesting. There's my giant black tube right there. That is like a 6-foot long piece of 12-inch wet exhaust. I don't even want to know the price of that stuff. Thankfully, I'm actually chopping it down to make my new exhaust system that I have to build. More fun. Project's continuing. Got the top deck on top of the water tank. It's all cut out of the 3/4. We actually just did this piece the other day, so it's not even rounded off. I didn't router this corner yet. We are gonna just tab it right into this plywood. Just because of how many things are going on, that plywood is absolutely solid. Nothing ever goes there anyways. And it would be so much work to try to disconnect my fuel hoses, my fuel fill hoses, all the AC lines. I'm not going through that. For you guys and me, I know that the one thing in this room is this little piece will still be a 3/4 inch piece of plywood that gets re-glassed over top. Everything over here is looking good. The next time I see you, I'm hoping we'll be laying down this floor and getting ready to slide my starboard generator to the port side. Right, Matt?
Heck yeah, man. Progress is coming along.
Let's get in there. Diesel heater's kicking outside. Got this one here. Like standing in the back deck, freezing outside. And yet it's a beautiful 72 degrees easy in here, as you see, working in my t-shirt. Catch you guys in the next part. For me, it is actually an exciting day down in the engine room. This corner is starting to look like a boat again, or at least kind of what you see in this corner. I really want to get this generator moved to this side. So this is my starboard generator that is now going to be my port generator. And if you guys seen the previous videos, you know I bought a brand new generator, which is gonna take this one's place. This whole area has now been rebuilt, which I did off camera because I don't want to bore you guys with the same cut things out, repeat, fiberglass, and it's becoming a lot of that. So this bulkhead, I completely redid just the bottom half, because the top half was extremely solid, no moisture, nothing. I did cut out the bottom half and redid it. And this is that floor, or the generator bedding, that I built in the shop. And just last night, got sat in place. So here she is. Still have a lot of fine tweaking to do, as you can see. So there's the lip, and this needs to sit down in there. It is catching a little bit there. It's a big milestone for me on making things start to go back together instead of tearing things apart. Still some things to do on this bulkhead though. I got to trim this So obviously I just built this up higher than what it originally was, and I'm going to find something to make this circle here and trace it out, cut it out, and then re-glass this bottom piece in. You can actually kind of see the very crude construction because obviously it's this all left overhung. You got glass on the inside, 1 layer of Kusa, 4 layers of glass, another layer of Kusa, and then I think it was 4 more layers of glass. 3 layers of 1708, and then 1 layer of just chopped strand. So this way I can sand it out, make it look good. Even though not going to be doing much sanding there, because once things like this are installed there, why waste energy when it's getting literally covered? So this is going to be my job for today, trying to get this corner figured out more. All this Kusa is now cut out and sitting here ready to start taking shape. Cut out a whole bunch of pieces of, wow, maybe I should focus on cleaning some of this stuff up. But cut out a whole bunch of pieces of 2" by 1" Kusa. That's what I'm going to build all the framework underneath that, because a lot of heavy things. Hot water tank sits there, all my ACs sit here, water maker, electronics, fire suppression system. A lot of stuff sits up on there that are pretty heavy, so want to make that really strong. And again, just like everything else I'm doing, I'm sloping everything in towards the middle of the boat. Why Viking? Viking, I love your boats, but why you guys built everything with the slope towards the hull of the boat or towards the bulkheads where the water could just pool instead of flowing in? I don't know, but I'm not doing it that way. Everything is going to be sloped. Everything is sloped towards the middle, so no water can sit on anything. You'll be able to come down here in theory and wash everything with a garden hose, and water will all flow right down into the bilge. All right guys, it's kind of a quick update for right now, and I'm gonna get started with this. Alrighty, so very exciting day for me. It's kind of been a long time coming, and I'm glad to be here. We got the generator bedding or generator floor finally ready to install. You can see how this one sits. It's all fiberglassed in here. Actually, funny enough is I've been sitting here watching me on In Too Deep. So doing a little bit of that while working today. Gives me a little bit more motivation to keep on going with this project, because whew, some days I need it. Here's the fabulous area that needs some love. So that there has to go over here. So I have everything prepped, all new stringers. Redid some of the bulkhead that had a little bit of soft spots. I ended up building, if you guys know, I talked about how I'm building everything on an angle to slope water, to shed water towards the middle of the boat. So what I ended up actually doing is adding a piece of Kusa in here, which is just a 3/4 inch piece of Kusa. The factory did something like this out of wood shims, but I went a little bit above and beyond. And since I ended up rebuilding this originally out of epoxy, what I did is I just laid a piece of 3/4 inch board of Kusa like that, and a simple 1708 over top, and glassed it in. Very crude, nothing fancy. All it's there is for a spacer to help that deck or the generator bedding not flex. So this way, this will support it, this will support it, this will support it. And then I have some extra scrap here, and I think what I'm going to do is make something that sits like this on this. I don't even know. That's a very high density foam that seems to be in every corner. I have no idea why it's in the boat, but in every corner it's just kind of glued in place. I'm assuming it's something to do with just stiffening up the corners or your chatter. I don't know. If you guys know, I would let me know, because this is new to me. I have no idea why. Just random pieces like that. Even in here, oh, you can't see that. Let's see. So even in here, you can see there's a piece in there as well. I'd for sure have to vacuum that out. I just finished trimming this. So if you guys know, let me know, because I'm curious. I actually have no idea. And quite frankly. Don't feel like even trying to look it up. So yeah, that's what I think I'm gonna do. Something like that. There's really no weight back here. There is a decent amount of weight here because there's gonna be a bracket for my exhaust, which I still have to build. Another fun thing on the list of things to do. So, I have a piece of Kusa here that's cut in 2-inch strips. I'm actually using this to help reinforce the water tank area. But I've been using it to kind of, yeah, see, that's gotta get ripped down. So you can, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but there's a gap here, and then without it, I can sit here and match it up. I'll be able to mark that piece of Kusa out, cut it down, but you'll be able to see from there across, nice and tight gap all the way across. So this way that board or that floor, which was way more complicated than you might think to build, because yes, I did it out of plywood, but in both directions it is a little over 5 feet. So it's 5 feet this way and 5 feet this way. Obviously 4x8 can't work. It's actually 2 half-inch pieces of marine plywood. There's a seam here and some over there, there's a seam there. That's all laminated and fiberglass together. Well, I'm gonna get that cut, trimmed, use some thicken to stick it in place, and I'll set you guys up. I'll let you watch me wrestle this thing in there by myself. So since I last talked to you, which for you was half a second ago, for me it was almost 2 hours ago, maybe even longer, I realized a little bit of prep that I still wanted to do. Get some sanding done, went, ate some lunch, came back. So these pieces, so my weep holes, because I'm gonna try to go a little bit above and beyond, I'm going to also at the same time, while I mix up the thicken, glue this piece in, which is pretty much the weep hole for here. I'm going to mix up some thicken to dab along there, and also I'm going to lay some thickened along each stringer. It's like the PL Premium in your house for holding your floorboards down so things don't squeak and things like that. And once it hardens any little voids, it just has a good spot to rest. So in all of these pails, I got your normal resin, your with wax resin, and this guy here. I mixed up a big batch of thickened resin. So it's just resin with Cavasil. And that's all I have left. Not a whole lot. So it's just something that I pre-mixed. But the problem is with this is it doesn't have wax. Normally, I'm using it in corners and things like that, where afterwards you go over it with fiberglass, and at the very end, if you're not familiar with fiberglassing, just some quick tips here. You go without wax for each layer, and the very last layer, you do one of two things. You either gel coat it with wax in it, or you use resin with wax in it for the very end. So same goes with the generator floor here. So this is the underneath side. So what happened was when I fiberglassed it, the bottom side was done with wax. So what I did is where it's getting tabbed in, I had to sit there and sand off all the wax. And it's all ready to go. Same with even something like this. That was made with wax resin, and it's all sand up and ready to go. So the one thing you got to do when mixing the wax though is, because I'm in a cold climate, and it is kind of just wax and I think it's styrene that's in it. So wax solution. And what I have is I just have it sitting beside my duct from my diesel heater, and it should be almost 80 degrees now. We'll bring it down there, take a temp reading. And you usually mix, this brand says about 5%. I've heard a lot of people say 3-ish%. I've been doing 5%, it's been working well for me. It's kind of, every brand seems to have a little bit different temperature for everything. It's the same with your MEKP, which is your catalyst or your hardener for quick terms. Oh yeah, so good and warm. I don't know if you guys can pick that up. Looking at 88 degrees. Perfect for what it is. So, I guess it's time to switch out some gloves here. Don't mind the mess. It's been driving me crazy, but I've had no help for the past week or so. And I've been on the grind to get things done. I had a goal of getting this boat operational in the spring when I started doing these videos, but a lot of things has happened. Doing a lot, and with no help lately, I get into a bit of a mess because I'm just trying to do so much at once. I'm over in Canada, so I usually go by milliliters. So I got 250 milliliters of some thickened resin that was pre-made, which I'll start with that and see where I get. So I just got the wax in it. You do want to kind of let it, you want to mix it and then let it sit for a couple minutes. I'm also thinking it might be a little too thick. I did when I mixed my big batch, what I do is I purposely mix it real thick, because you can always add more resin and thin it out. You can't, well, I guess you can make it thicker if you have more cavasil, but for the most part, I just buy a big box of it like that. And normally I don't do this, but with this size of a project, I just buy a big box and mix the whole thing into a spare bucket that I had. And as I need it, it's just already thickened, ready to go, because it is kind of a pain mixing this stuff up. Does not mix well. You got to go slow. Wear good respirators, being a ventilated area, and being the fact that it's been 0 degrees Fahrenheit out for quite some time, it was easier just to go to the shop, wear the respirator, go under my fume extractor that I have, and just mix it all up at once and be done with it. But yeah, it's a little thick, which is okay because I mixed a little extra wax in it because I think I'm going to go to 300 milliliters worth. Alright guys, that's a better ratio. Still thick enough to stay in shape, but mixes up just a bit more, a little bit runnier, easier for squeeze out. Yeah, that's what she looks like. Lately I've been getting quite a bit of comments and questions. A lot of people asking, how do I know how to do all this stuff? And quite frankly, I tell a lot of people, honestly, I don't know. I do the same thing you guys are doing probably watching this. I sit around, watch some videos on my spare time of how things are done. I go to boat shows, I talk to a lot of people, I see how other people do things, and then I try it myself. And don't get me wrong, I fail at a lot of things. But what you gotta do is when you fail, you just keep going. And it's not like this is somebody else's boat that I'm worried about failing on. This is my boat, my project, and I want it to be an awesome boat that is reliable and just built to the best way possible. When I try to do a project, like, it's hard. I try to not think about the budget because we all know this stuff is not cheap. So I just try to do it right with the best products at hand. Obviously there is certain things like this resin. I could be using epoxy, but that is way too far out of the budget. Just the fact I'm using Coosa, if you guys know anything about Coosa, a sheet of Coosa for me was like $700, I think, after taxes for one sheet of it. Ridiculous. But it's a matter of trying. When you fail, especially when you fail at fiberglass, you grind it out and redo it. Research why it failed and continue. At the end of the day though, I really don't know. I think it's just a good understanding of the mechanical knowledge of things, having a good understanding of the chemicals that are using and the bonding properties, things like that. Understanding the functions of things and then just going from there really helps when building anything. Because as you guys seen, It's been me and all of my ideas on getting the engines out, the fabrication, the machining, the welding, the fiberglassing, soon hopefully painting, which I kind of suck at painting, so. But it's just trial and error. And being a younger guy and not having everything given to you, it's a matter of being able to buy something cheap and fix it up to be awesome. And that's how I got to where I am, sitting in a 58-foot Viking with no engines. All right, enough talking. It's been a couple minutes now, guys. The wax in this thickened has solidified basically and has mixed in very well. So it's time to add the MAKP. And it looks like we ended up with about 300 milliliters. You kind of got to give or take it a little bit because obviously the Cavasil does add some density into it. So it's a little bit over 300, but because of that Cavasil, I'm going to just stick with that. And I'm still going to mix it at a percentage where I know won't be any issue. I'm aiming for about 1.5%. Decided to bump it up to about 2%. All right, so this is the part that gets tricky. Trying to talk to you guys, being a one-man show, having hands sticking to things like this, and trying to grab the expensive camera. Or my phone, because we do a lot of filming between the GoPro and the phone. If you're new to this fiberglass, mix until you think it's mixed, and then mix more. But remember, you are on a timeline. Right now it's a bit cooler in here, so I have approximately 30 minutes before it starts to get too hard, and it doesn't even work. All right, gonna try to take you along here. This is the piece. I have it kind of marked, not kind of, I have it marked. And she's gonna sit in there like that. We'll start by just getting a good glob in there. So, and now that there's wax in it, this will actually fully cure. And then it'll be at a point where any final finishing I can sand it. I don't plan on putting a layer of glass on any of this. It's kind of just the thickened polyester resin and then letting it harden. Hopefully you guys can see this. So, like I said, I got this Kusa here, which I'm just going to dab a bit on the wall. So nothing too crazy. Trying to get some big globs though. So I know I got some good squish out. So, for sure, probably not the proper or most fanciest way of doing this. But for what I am trying to do, the factory had nothing. And all this is going to be here for is to help support this section where the extra weight is. So, some nice big globs there. Now, I'm going to do the same thing to here. For the people that are familiar, polyester obviously is not going to stick to the epoxy, but what it will do is it will stick to that wood over there. And again, it's just something there to help bond everything together. All of this is getting screwed in fiberglass, but it helps fill any voids for it to wanting to warp over time. And because it doesn't really bond to this much, I'm not really gonna even put a whole lot, a couple dabs here and there. There's no point putting it on the edges because it's all getting tabbed in with fiberglass, so that's going to have a ton of support there as well and won't allow it to flex down. Even though I go right to the corner here and put some. Alright, now that I'm covered in resin. So now, you guys can watch me struggle, flip this bad boy over, and hopefully stick it in place. Oh, not the easiest thing to move by yourself. All right, it actually, I think, went a little bit smoother than I thought it was going to. This is a big step for me, and it's so exciting to see things going back together than coming more apart. Let me, while I have a little bit of this still left and a couple minutes to use it, I'm going to use it and then I'll grab you guys. Alright, so I'll show you how she's looking. As much as I had, I filled it all in. Let's see how it looks under here. Oh, I guess I should squeeze that out, but you can see how it's squeezed out, just like that. Pretty happy with that. That's going to be a nice solid bond to just get it to the ground. What I am going to do is I'm going to be drilling out and putting stainless steel screws straight down into the coring. One little trick I have found is you dab them in a little bit of resin and then you coat them over. It helps for any rot. But in this case, I think I'm going to actually skip that step because everything is made out of Kusa except for this deck. Where in 30, 40 years, the next guy that owns this boat, you'll have everything else that you won't have to change. But if it rots out, I'm sorry. At least it's something that's kind of doable with engines still in the boat. So the plan is I have 8-inch tape or 8-inch strips. I'm going to get this all tabbed in every direction. And then this only actually has one layer of 1708 on it right now. And the plan is to probably do, I think, 3 layers of 1708. And then 1 layer of just chop strand, as I've explained before. It's kind of your sacrificial area, allows you to sand it smooth. But because so many things are going on it, like this generator, I'm not even going to bother sanding it or fairing it, nothing. I'm only going to sand, as you see, I've been cleaning up in there. Only sanding and fairing where you'll see, because what's the point when a 1,000-pound generator is going to sit right on top? And I need to go boating. All right, once I start glassing, I'll give you an update or pick you guys up and bring you along, but it's so difficult doing this and filming, so we'll see what happens. So, got everything prepped and ready to go to get the tabbing in. So this is what it's gonna look like. Some 1708, and I got 2 pieces here. And that's going to be for the underside down in here. Not going to bother with anything there yet. I just want to get the tabbing in because doing the fiberglass, I got to deal with the temperature and get it warm enough and things like that. And then the fumes because I'm in here. So what I'm going to be doing is I have the exhaust fan here that I'm going to plug in. That helps get the fumes out. I set up a fan out there, which helps push fresh air in, and then I put the respirator on. I have 1.5 liters of resin poured and ready to be mixed. I'm going to get that mixed up and start tabbing this in. Whew. All right, guys, I'm sweating. When you mix fresh air being pumped in and an exhaust fan right by your working area, it makes a big difference. Big difference. Hardly any fumes. So boom. Just like that. All taped in or glassed in. Let's see. This is the first time I've looked under here too, so hopefully this looks good, because working upside down, can't really see it. So that's 2 layers of 1708 tabbed in there. 2 layers of 1708 tabbed in there. Now with all the tabbing done, I am still going to, like I said, screw it into the stringers. And right now I'm gonna head back to my shop where I have the glass table set up, which you think a 58-foot boat is big sometimes until you try to do that kind of work and you're out of room or you're hopping over everything. So I'm gonna head back right now to the shop and cut out the actual layers of glass. I got my diesel heater cranked on high to keep it at least 70 degrees in here, maybe even a little bit warmer. And I'm gonna finish cutting out the rest of the glass. So this project, or at least getting this glassed in, should be damn near done today, which will be exciting. That's about how much resin I had left over from the 1.5 liters. Worked out pretty good. That's something that is a live and learn scenario, trying to mix the right amount of resin for what you're working with. All right, guys, I'll catch back up to you when I get some more done. So we are now on to the point where we are going to do the 2 layers of 1708, like I already explained. I'm doing the kind of a rough trace out of where I'm cutting for this opening. And I have both layers of 1708. You can see the overlap here. So there's going to be this layer, which here's our original plywood that already has a layer on. Then we got this layer that goes this way, and the other layer that goes this way too, because like I explained, this piece is like 5.5 feet in either direction, so there's no way to make it one piece. So here's where we're at. I finally got somebody behind the camera to kind of help film, to make life a little easier. If you guys...
Hi, I'm someone.
Yeah, that's someone. That's Pat. You guys see me struggle in the last clip when I was trying to bring you along while fiberglassing. It was horrible behind the scenes. Now, I'm gonna get this all cut up and be able to get everything filmed kind of what I do step by step. And like I said, if you're doing fiberglass, buy the scissors. Watch how awesome these are. So this way that will hopefully be able to wrap around this lip. Already got this routed to make a smooth transition. Getting ready to mix the resin. One thing, if you're starting off, do not mix 3 liters, which I guess all you Americans, I always forget this. About 100 ounces is what we're gonna mix, or 3 liters. So how you guys deal with liquids in a weight form, I don't know, but that's for you guys. I don't know what quarts is, but 3 liters, or what would be equivalent to 100 ounces. So anybody starting off though, you never want to mix this amount. This is going to be way too much, way too difficult. But as you see, we have a very big surface area that is getting done. We're going to be spreading out a lot of resin fast. Yes, we are in a pretty ventilated area with good air, fresh air coming in, exhaust coming out. I will be wearing a mask on and off. When you see me though, I won't be wearing the mask so I can communicate with you guys. We are going to be doing a 1% ratio for MAKP. So, little cups I use. I'm going to go to 30. My big mixer that I have, that works great for all these things. So this is the unwaxed resin. So the plan is I'm going to be doing it all without wax, and then tomorrow coming back and I'm going to be actually adding a layer of gel coat to this whole area. And that will be with the wax. With the 1708 mat, you really want to wet everything out first before applying. So we have everything laid out to where it works and fits, everything is cut. But because they're such big pieces, it's a lot easier. Fit it all, slightly pull it back, but not all the way, so you still have your areas lined up. Wet everything out, and then fold it back on. This is gonna take a while, so we'll catch you in the next part. We've gotten everything wet out really well. You can see the nice shine. So then it makes it a whole lot easier to carefully lay your mat back on. It's already starting to be wet out pretty decent. You always got to make sure you pleat, I think that's the word, your corners properly. So this way there's no big overlapping, which, mind you, overlapping is fine when you're not trying to go for a nice fit and finish. Before I carry on, I'm going to actually make sure that this area is wet out pretty good while I can reach it. And since we are doing another layer over this, having it a little extra wet ain't gonna hurt nobody. If anything, it's gonna make the next layer a little bit easier to wet out, as long as we can get it laid down properly the first time. When you're dealing with the quantity of glass, or resin I should say, that I have on the go right now, time is very limited. As you guys see, she's looking pretty good. When you start to see it go nice and transparent, that's pretty much when it's obviously very resin saturated. You can have too much resin though. There is such thing that you can have too much. But like I explained, we're putting another layer right over top of this, so it's not going to hurt to have more resin right now. It's not going to be an issue. Actually, if anything, it makes our lives a little easier right now. These are going to be the trickier parts. It's one of those things where it's easy to kind of flip them over like this, get a good layer of resin on them. You let it get nice and saturated, and then it's a lot easier to work with. One thing, guys, I did learn the hard way is when you're doing weird stuff like this, is leaning on the material. If you lean on it to, say, reach the other end after it's all being done rolled out, you very much leave your handprint embedded into it. You smush down the fibers with that pressure of your hand, and the next thing you know, you're sanding it, and all of a sudden you find your whole hand again. Since we did glass the bottom side, my plan pretty much is to we'll get a smooth radius, and then all the leftovers we're just going to kind of trim off. Oh, my foot's cramping. Whew.
I would have to say that's the worst part about this. The awkward positions you need to put yourself in.
Very awkward, especially this one. This one's a bit tricky, to say the least. So, for the first layer, she's looking pretty darn good. Looks like my guesstimate skills of about 3 liters worked out to be pretty good. I did have a little bit extra, so I just laid it out. Right now, I'm going to actually mix up my next batch, put it on nice and thick, and then start to roll it out. This is the part where you can struggle at. I'm gonna leave that edge folded down so I can try to get it saturated in resin. So exactly what I'm doing is what I just talked about sucks. Leaving my hand. If this was the finishing stage, You really wouldn't want to do what I'm doing. Like I said, learn from my mistakes. All right, we are what is on the final little wrap of glass right here. Some good gloves is key as well. I know a lot of people will double or triple up their gloves. Whatever these gloves are though, a bit of a game changer for me. I don't know what they are. What material? I don't even know what material. Are they latex?
Yeah, 15 mil latex.
But as you guys see, I've been rocking the same pair of gloves for now, like all of this, everything I've touched, and they haven't broken down. We are going to be, I think, right on the money for resin usage. So the reason I'm overlapping this is just because I had it cut like this, and I figured, hey, I'm gonna wrap it down, tie it into the stringer the way it is, and it's just, everything was sanded prior, but I figured while I was doing this, just do one extra layer on the stringer. Actually, and it ended up being almost 2 extra layers. So just helping for tabbing everything in. But normally, you would not have to do this. I find the king of trying to make things overkill. Getting the last piece fitted up here. Unfortunately, I do gotta mix up a little bit more resin. Which for the most part, even this is a pretty big surface area to be glassing at once, let alone this. Alright. Mix up another little batch. Might not even use this. Probably switch to a smaller cup. Then we're going to get to some bubble busting. That's what we call it over here. I know there's lots of names for it, but mixed up just a little bit extra. Hopefully it ends up being a perfect amount here. And for those wondering about the floor, they're like, wow, you're going to get resin everywhere. You are absolutely correct. We are. But everything in here, including the floor down here, has so many layers of paint on it, it's insane. So all of that still has to be sanded down because the entire engine room is getting epoxy painted.
How crucial would you say it is to have the exact same amount of hardener in every batch? Like say you made one hard, like now that you're at the end, can you put a little bit more hardener to make it
work? In my experience, yeah. You for sure can. And that's, I think, a little bit of a known scenario. You can actually, like your first layer, you can go a little bit light on your ratio. And then your last layer, if you're trying to get it to kick a little faster and you know it's your last layer, you can do what everybody calls, make it a little spicy. Just, you can mix it up, you can bump that 1% up to 2% and even up to like 3%. It also depends on the temperature that you're in. But that's my experience. Is it the proper way of doing it? Honestly, I don't know.
Thought you had 30 years experience.
Not 30. I may be in the 30s, but unfortunately, it's only like my 5th time fiberglass.
To take on a project this big, your viewers probably think you're crazy. I know
I think I'm crazy.
Your friends think you're crazy.
Yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. It's not for everybody.